In 2006, the world quietly agreed on a decision. Pluto was no longer a planet. It was demoted, reclassified, cut down from a world to a dwarf, removed from textbooks, erased from the official list of 9. For 76 years, it had been the most distant member of the family. Then, it was an outsider. 9 years later, in the summer of 2015, humanity finally sent a single spacecraft to take a real look at the world it had just demoted. And what it found was not a dead rock. It was a world with mountains that float, with glaciers of nitrogen flowing through valleys, with a giant pale heart beating across one hemisphere, with a sky that, in the right light, glows blue, and with a vast, hidden forest of frozen knives, hundreds of meters tall. Pluto was not finished. It was hiding more than any other world we had ever visited. Imagine, for a moment, that you are standing on Pluto's surface. You look up. It is the middle of the day. The sun, the same sun that warms Earth, is now nothing more than a brighter star. Distant, cold, almost lost among the others. The sky above you is not blue. It is deep twilight, almost black, every hour of every day, forever. Around you, frozen ground stretches in every direction. Behind you, a vast pale plain shaped like a heart. Ahead, mountains rising into the dark. The temperature is around minus 229 degrees Celsius, close to minus 380 Fahrenheit. This is the world we said wasn't a planet. And from where you are standing, you would not know the difference. Pluto was discovered in 1930 by a young American astronomer named Clyde Tombaugh. He was 24 years old. For nearly 8 decades after that, Pluto was simply the 9th planet. Then, in 2006, the International Astronomical Union reclassified it as a dwarf planet, a decision that is still argued about today. Pluto itself didn't change. Only the name we used for it did. Its orbit takes it an average of 5.9 billion kilometers from the Sun, about 40 times farther than Earth. That orbit is so long that a single year on Pluto lasts 248 Earth years. Pluto has not yet completed even one full orbit since the moment it was discovered. For most of human history, the most powerful telescopes on Earth could show Pluto only as a few blurry pixels, until one tiny spacecraft made the long, slow journey there. NASA's New Horizons spacecraft launched in January of 2006. The same year Pluto was demoted from planet status. It traveled for nearly a decade, roughly 5 billion kilometers of empty space. On July 14th, 2015, it screamed past Pluto at nearly 50,000 kilometers per hour, passing within about 12,500 kilometers of the surface. The encounter itself lasted only a few hours. The data took about 16 months to transmit back to Earth. Not because the radio waves were slow, but because New Horizons was so far away, and the data rate was extremely low. Even at light speed, each individual signal took roughly 4.5 hours to reach Earth. And when the first high-resolution images began arriving on screens at the Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory, the scientists who had spent decades planning this mission went quiet, because what they were looking at made no sense. The first detailed image showed an enormous heart-shaped feature spread across one face of Pluto. It was eventually named Tombaugh Regio, after the astronomer who discovered the world. The left lobe of that heart turned out to be one of the most surprising landscapes in the solar system. A vast frozen plain more than 1,000 kilometers across, made almost entirely of nitrogen ice. Its name is Sputnik Planitia, and it has almost no impact craters. On a 4.5 billion-year-old world, which means Sputnik Planitia is, in geological terms, young. Something is constantly resurfacing it. The nitrogen ice is slowly convecting, overturning itself again and again, like a thick, frozen soup. Every few 100,000 years, the entire plane is essentially new. Pluto, for all its cold and silence, was not finished. But the strangest landscape on Pluto isn't the heart. It is a region called Tartarus Dorsa, and it looks like a nightmare. Across hundreds of kilometers, Pluto's surface here is covered in sharp, parallel ridges of methane ice, hundreds of meters tall, standing in dense, aligned rows that stretch to the horizon. A landscape that, in photographs, looks almost like a forest of frozen knives. On Earth, there is a small similar formation, sharp ice spikes that grow in high-altitude deserts called penitentes. But those rarely rise more than a couple of meters. On Pluto, the blades reach as high as 500 meters. A frozen, alien terrain, sculpted slowly over millions of years by sunlight so dim that you could barely call it warmth. A landscape no human will ever walk through. Now, turn your eyes to the edges of the heart. There are mountains there, some over 3.5 kilometers tall. Two of the ranges, Hilary Montes and Tenzing Montes, were named for the first humans to summit Everest. But these mountains are not made of rock. They are made of water ice. At Pluto's surface temperatures, water ice is no longer something you would put in a glass. It is structurally rigid, as hard as rock, hard enough to hold its shape across hundreds of millions of years. And here is the part that almost no one realizes. Water ice is less dense than the solid nitrogen of Sputnik Planitia, which means some of those mountains may not be sitting on the ground at all. They may be floating, vast water ice peaks, slowly drifting across a plain of frozen nitrogen, the way icebergs drift across a sea. A mountain range moving across a plain made of frozen air. And there is one more thing buried below all of it. Based on the shape and exact location of Sputnik Planitia on Pluto's surface, scientists believe there may be an enormous body of liquid water hiding far beneath the crust. A subsurface ocean, possibly tens of kilometers deep, kept liquid by the slow decay of radioactive elements in Pluto's rocky interior and insulated from the surface cold by the thick ice shell above. If that is true, Pluto joins a short, extraordinary list: Europa, Enceladus, Ganymede, Titan, Callisto. Worlds where the cold, dry surface hides a hidden sea. Worlds where, if life can exist anywhere beyond Earth, it might. And Pluto is not alone. It has a companion, a moon almost half its own size, named Charon. Charon is so massive relative to Pluto that the two worlds do not orbit each other the way a planet and moon normally do. They orbit a shared point in empty space between them, a true binary system, locked together, turning slowly in the dark. And they are tidally locked to each other, which means if you were standing on the right side of Pluto, Charon would hang in the sky above you forever, never rising, never setting, always there. And if you were standing on the other side of Pluto, you would never see Charon at all. Charon has its own scar, a vast, dark, blood-red region covering one of its poles, known as Mordor Macula. That red color was a mystery for years, until scientists realized what it was. Gases escaping from Pluto's atmosphere, drifting across the empty space between them, and slowly freezing onto Charon's pole, chemically transformed by sunlight into reddish organic compounds called tholins. Pluto and Charon are, in a way, sharing each other's atmospheres. And around the pair, 4 tiny moons, Nix, Hydra, Kerberos, and Styx, tumble through space on chaotic, unpredictable orbits. A binary world with a wobbling escort, drifting silently through the dark. After the closest approach, New Horizons did something simple and beautiful. It turned its camera back. It looked at Pluto from the far side with the sun behind the planet. And in that image, lit from behind, the world we had just demoted appeared as a dark silhouette wrapped in a glowing ring of haze, layered, more than 20 distinct bands of mist stretching far above the surface. And that haze was blue, a soft, pale, scattered blue. The same scattering of sunlight that gives Earth's sky its color, happening on a world 4 billion miles away, in haze made of organic particles falling slowly toward a frozen surface. Pluto, at the edge of the dark, has a blue sky. We called Pluto a dwarf. We moved it to a smaller category in our textbooks. We removed it from the official list of planets. Pluto did not change. It is still out there, still drifting, still hiding its blue sky and its floating mountains and its frozen knives and its dark companion in the sky and a possible ocean underneath everything. We thought we knew what we were demoting. We didn't.